virtual resident panel discussion this afternoon in partnership with Sparrow Living. Sparrow Living owns and operates resort-style active adult living communities including Solea, Mara, and Sage. Their communities are located in Texas and Arizona and North Carolina. My name is Heather Potts, and I will be the moderator today. We are so excited to introduce our resident panel guest who will be sharing some of their insights and personal experiences living in an active adult living community. The goal of today's panel discussion is really to have fun, joy, and engaging discussion that may be helpful as some of you may be considering active adult living as an option for your future. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping guidelines. During this virtual discussion, we do welcome you to post any questions in the comments section of Facebook. And we also plan to record this on our Facebook Live, so you'll be able to access the Facebook link later. And also you'll be able to access this on our Sparrow Living YouTube channel. So we're so excited, and we'll get started by introducing our panel guests. Good afternoon and welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Bob and Jean Van Steinberg. And Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, despite the fact it says Jean in the lower left-hand corner, I am Bob.
Hi, Jean.
Yeah, there's Jean. Jean and I moved to Texas back in 2002, and to be near family, which a lot of people our age do at this point in life. And we lived in a condo community for a number of years. That was very, very nice, very enjoyable, very comfortable. And then over 2 years ago, we found Celaya here in Cedar Park, Texas, and decided to move here. And we're very, very glad we made the transition. We're very comfortable here. We enjoy it, and we'll talk more about our experiences during the conversation today.
Wonderful. Jean, would love to have you say a few words about yourself.
Well, since Bob was in the Army for a long time, I was an Army wife and a stay-at-home mom for a number of years. And then I got into my teaching career, which I absolutely loved, and did that until I came here and relaxed and enjoyed life in Texas to be near our kids.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jean. And I might add that all of us today are coming to you from Austin, Texas. Rock, I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rock, and I'm a native Houstonian. I have lived in a number of cities throughout North America, to include the Virgin Islands. And subsequently in 16 rather, I retired as an investigator in the government agencies and decided that I wanted to venture out into something a little bit more upscale, low maintenance, something that was more desirable in a 55 plus active location, and came across an acquaintance that lived in one of the Houston properties. Subsequently, I had an opportunity to learn about the Cedar Park property opening up. With that said, I executed a lease, and I've been here approximately 24 months now. So I really enjoy being out here at this location now.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for joining us today. And Cheryl, I would love to have you introduce yourself today.
I'm Cheryl Harrington, and I'm originally from Austin, Texas. Moved into Cedar Park about 5 to 6 years ago, before Solea was open. And I worked for 2 dental practices as their manager. I did that for probably over 40 years. So I've enjoyed Cedar Park, and I've enjoyed Solea, so I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cheryl. Well, let's begin, and I'll start with some questions just to help our viewers just get a sense about life at Sparrow Living Community. And I'll start with Bob. What was the single most important factor that you made to decide to move to a community such as Solea Cedar Park?
I guess the most important factor was I was tired of being responsible for maintaining a home. I'd done a lot of that, and it was time to move on to live a relaxed life. Also, we're living in a 2-story community home, and I had problems with knees and needed to be on a 1 level, which is where we are now. But I think probably the biggest thing was having a lifestyle where I didn't have to spend all of my time dealing with household issues and concerns and maintenance and upkeep. That was probably the biggest issue.
Wonderful. Jean, would you like to add anything?
Not to that question.
Well, Cheryl, I'd love to address the next question to you. Do you mind sharing kind of some of the steps or the process that you went through when you started to think about moving to an active adult living community?
I lived in a home for about 6 years, my house. My mother passed away, and I moved to Cedar Park and lived in a different apartment that was not a 55 plus. And I had a friend at a coloring class, and Solea was being built, and I kind of liked that. I liked the 55 plus, so I decided that I had just signed another lease time, so I waited, and then I came over one day, actually 3 times, to take a look, make sure I wanted to be here. So the process was coming 3 times. They had a special, and I had to break a lease. So the lease was really the hard part for me. So because they were having a special, that helped me to make that decision to move to Celaya. So.
Well, wonderful. Will you bring up a good...
Moving was also a part of that was difficult. But that was my main reason for it. I thought moving to 55 plus was a wonderful thing to do, and I knew that I would be with a generation that would be closer to my age, and we'd have a lot more in common, and a lot of people I could visit with.
Well, thank you. And I'm curious too. So you lived in a traditional apartment community and moving to an active adult community. What are some of the key differences?
At the other apartment, it was a mixture of different students, adults, kids. I really didn't meet people very, very well there. They didn't have very many things for us to come to meet people. And so I decided, that at some point it must be better for me to move where I can at least meet people that I can be with and have some fun with, and like to do that really till I have to go somewhere else, wherever that might be. I actually have lived in apartments before I had the house, so I've been in many apartments, and it's not something. There's only been a few that you have people that you actually really meet, and they're usually your age. So 55 plus sounded like the best place for me to go at this point.
Wonderful. So Rock, I'd love to address the next question. I'm sure you probably did a little shopping and looking at different options. What made you decide on an active adult community?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind was some years ago, I had been traveling quite a bit and was totally exhausted. And this was during the month of July. Actually, it was July 4th. I had traveled and arrived home. I was living in a traditional apartment complex in the Round Rock area. And I arrived home on July 3rd, late after a number of hours away. And I was sleeping in on July 4th. And I was living on the 3rd floor overlooking the pool, which was quite nice. And at some point I awoken to a lot of noise and music and people. I went to the window and looked out, and the pool area, the barbecue area, that whole area was just jam-packed with folks. Young people, older people, music, barbecue it was huge. I didn't come to expect that. I was trying to rest. And it was at that point I decided, you know what, I'm going to look for something a little bit more accommodating, that folks that look like me, folks that were my age, etc. And I happened to travel to the Houston area some time back and met a friend who was living in one of the Solea properties. So it was a combination of making a decision about, wow, I like apartment style living. However, I want to get to a location that catered to more of my needs, something that was more sensuous, something that was a little bit more, a better feeling for me based on my needs, my age, and the things that I enjoy doing. And Celaya kept coming up from some of the other properties that I had opportunity to view. So I made the choice to select Celaya.
Wonderful. Yes, Bob.
I'd like to add something on to what both Rock and Cheryl said in looking for a place. When we decided we're going to move, we visited several other locations, and they're very, very nice. This 55 active type of arrangement. And we walked in, very nice facility, very nice people, but we just weren't there yet in our lives. We weren't at the point in our lives where it was, okay, you're going to go here and live in this place, and you go down for communal dining, and if you want to sit here in the game room and do puzzles, you can do that. But that wasn't the lifestyle that we were looking for at this point in our lives. Maybe there's someday, we probably will, but that's not where we are right now. And that's why this community, like Cheryl and both Rock have both said, was very appealing to us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bob. Yes, Cheryl.
I will tell you that I was a little afraid at first because people would say, well, what if everybody knocks on your door all the time, or do you have to get involved? And I was hoping that I could just gradually get involved, which is exactly what I've done. People don't bother me. In fact, I want them to bother me, but just not knock on my door. And they don't, you know. So you do meet a lot of people that really want their own life, but also want to have a group of people that they'd like to be involved with and socialize with when they want to. And so they really at Solea, I think they all allow us to do that. And so I think that's why I like it so much.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I'd love for you to share. So kind of how do you spend your time? What do you enjoy about some of the community life at your particular community?
Well, I love Chef Aaron. He cooks something and we get to eat it, and I like that very much. I like started walking on the 4th floor is where I live, and I walk it every morning for about 30 minutes. And I don't feel like I could just do that just anywhere. I could just walk out, walk around, and walk back in my door, and I've enjoyed that. I don't play cards much. I may later on in my life, but right now that's not something I've been involved with. I've enjoyed going to all the parties that we kind of have and getting to meet people gradually. I've been to some of their wine parties, which has been kind of nice too, but you know, it's been hard to meet people that all go to a wine party. So I have gradually done that by going to other little things. So I feel like some of the things that they have, the exercise room, they have that. I'm not a big pool person. I don't like to lay out in the sun too much. So it's just kind of one of those things that I may not do some of the things that I may do later on. I've just been here a year. Outside of here, I work at the food bank. So I do that 2 times a week, which I love. And my church is down the street. So it's all so close. And I have about 3 or 4 friends outside of here that I know very, very well. And they live right in this area. So this was the right area for me to come to.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Well, I'd love to address the next question to Rock. I mean, has your lifestyle or your interests changed since making a move to an active adult community? Have you found new interests or do the same things?
Actually, that's a very good question. My lifestyle has continued to flourish because I'm living here with more like folks that are like me from a standpoint of age as it relates to my age, and having an opportunity to have different conversations with folks that living here. We're very close on my floor where we have an opportunity to come out and share concepts and look out on the balcony and share a glass of wine. It's remarkable that the folks that are here, the residents, we all have different interests. We all come from different locations. And I find it very unique that my lifestyle has not changed. It's been enhanced, I would say, by most of the people, the residents that I'm close to here. I continue to hang out with some of my other pals and chums, etc. And I've invited them here, and they've become they really enjoy the camaraderie, the friendship, the niceties of the folks that are here, the kind words, the greetings that you get a lot. In a traditional complex where I lived previously, I knew the person on the left and right and across the hall. But being in the business that I was in as in my profession, I wanted to know who lived on the left and right and across the hallway, just from a standpoint of getting to know them. Here, it's a little bit different. I know them from where they are. I know that my neighbor next door, Laura, makes a great lasagna, and she'll knock on the door and say, "Hey, Ma, I have some lasagna. It's going to be at the door. Knock twice, it's yours." That sort of thing. We know each other by name. Sometimes we can compliment each other by saying, "Hey, I'm Prince Charming next door." "Oh, hey, Rock, what's up?" So it's a lot different because we're more mature. We've been there, done that sort of thing. And now it's at a point of enjoying the rest of life, if that makes sense. So it's my personality. I've been a very personable guy. I'm a people's kind of person for sure. And my lifestyle and personality and way of life has been enhanced by being here.
Well, thank you. Bob, Jean, would you like to share any thoughts? I'm kind of curious about, you moved from a home to an apartment community, and I'm curious, as you know, you probably have a lot of friends that remained in their homes, and how is your life different from people maybe that decided to stay in their home longer versus making a move to a community? How has that impacted your lives?
Well, I really don't know if, because the friends have all had such different lives, and they go their way and we get together with them and we share. But I can tell you from moving here, ours has really enhanced, and that friendship has grown unbelievably. I'd like to tell the story that when we moved here, we said we needed to find 4 couples that we could be friends with. That's all we needed out of the whole place, 4 couples. And then we would have people to do things with. And when somebody couldn't, you know, you could ask somebody else. Well, we went down to a couple of things. We said, well, there wasn't one there. There wasn't one there. And then suddenly there were 20, 30 couples. And it's just been an unbelievable experience. And it continues to grow and grow and grow with the friendships. So that's been the best and the most important thing. Not a change of lifestyle, but a change of friendships.
I would add to that an enhancement too, because we've done things here we haven't done in years. We get out of parties and we dance. And we haven't danced together, I don't know how many years till we got here. And now with the opportunity to do that, we had an event out here in the courtyard last weekend on Friday evening. A band came in and played music, and we're out there in the grass dancing, we and other couples. And again, we hadn't done that in years. And it's just kind of nice to do that at this point. It really is. It's very nice to do that.
That's wonderful. Well, great. Well, I would love to address the next question to Bob. I know there are, as people are considering making a move, what are some of the financial considerations that one should think about as they plan ahead? I'm sure you get asked that question from time to time from friends. What would you share?
Yeah, you can ask that question. You're on a lease and it could change on you. You have no control over that. And how's that going to work out in the long span? And we sat down before we moved, pencil and paper, and figured out what our costs were where we're living, what we thought they would be here. And the difference was, I don't know, maybe $100. I mean, really, it was a small number. And for that difference, what we got was so much more. You know, considering the fact I don't deal with real estate taxes now. I don't have to worry about fixing a roof. I don't have to worry if the air conditioner goes out. If the sink overflows, I don't have to deal with that. If the carpet gets wet because of the sink overflowing, that's not my problem. And so those costs that you probably don't see over the course of the year, but you do have in maintaining a home, just add up significantly. We don't have that. And so we found that the cost of living here is very similar to what it was when we stayed in our own home, and we don't feel any financial loss whatsoever from making this move, none whatsoever.
And since I pay all the bills,
Yes, she does.
and have done finances for years, I was really concerned about that. And so when I was guessing what it was going to cost for utilities and things like that here at Celaya, I guessed high. And so it really worked out even better for us in the end. And as Bob said, we don't have the responsibility for a home. And as we get older and older, it just seemed to take more of a toll and more of a time. And this has just been the best move for us because of that, if you want to just talk about finances.
Wonderful. I would love, oh, yes, Rock.
Well, I wanted to add that when I was considering moving, I've lived in a traditional single family home previously as well. And I look at moving as I got a raise because I had expenses such as HOA fees, landscaping fees. I had all sorts of light, water, and gas fees that were a lot higher than what I'm paying here. And just the day-to-day cost of maintenance, etc. And when I got down to the nuts and bolts of the amounts of money that I would be spending here, it was straight across a one-time fee, and that was it. It was nothing less than. So I got a raise when I moved here.
Well, wonderful. Well, I would love to direct the next question to Cheryl. Tell me a little bit about the management at your community. What has been your experience and how responsive has the management team been to you?
Actually, I think that this is a really great management team. They helped me to decide to move into Solea very easily, and that was helpful. And I know we have a council every 3 months, and that's the first time living in an apartment that I've been a part of a council, which I thought was good. But I thought, oh, our poor management, you know, have they ever tried to work with 55 and plus people before? So I've never had to deal with what everybody else thinks out of the apartment. So that was kind of nice though, because you get to know everybody and know whether things are right or wrong. They've always been here to fix anything that I needed done, and I haven't had to have very much done. So they had everything nice and clean when I moved in, put new carpet in, and I just think that the management here is open and friendly, and that's the way they've been to me, and I'm sure they will be that way to everybody. So, you know, no matter what kind of question you have, I think they would help you with it.
Wonderful. Well, resident council. So it sounds like residents have a voice. Tell me about, who would like to answer the question a little bit about what a resident council is? I'm curious.
Well, I probably should since I started it.
Okay.
Since I brought you up.
And you didn't know that, did you, Heather?
I didn't.
I've been there.
So we decided about almost a year and a half ago, that we needed some way to get the ideas and concerns the community has as a block, as one voice, to take them to management and say, hey, here's what people are concerned about. Here's what people would like to do. Here's what people's thoughts are on some things. And that has worked out very well. It's been a two-way street, I believe, with the council speaking for residents to management, and also providing a way for management to provide information, et cetera, to residents. So it's a two-way street. And I think it's worked out very, very well, and satisfied that we've done it and glad that we've done it. And I believe it is helpful for the community. I think it gives residents a voice, and it gives management something to go to rather than trying to deal with 184 units at one time.
Well, wonderful. Yes, Rock.
That's a great comment by Bob. The resident council was certainly a very adequate bridge with the management, because as you well know, most of you well know, in traditional apartment home complexes, there's no voice. You communicate or speak about your concerns, desires, etc. with management, and they simply just go and smoke. But here, the management style, based on residents and who we are, we're very, very receptive and engaging with our concerns and desires, and work with us and bringing a lot of things to fruition. And I really appreciate that aspect, that if that's something that we desire, we pitch it to the council, they pitch it to management, and there's some discussions and negotiations, and voila, things happen.
That's great. It sounds like a wonderful collaboration.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love, you know what, I'm starting to get some messages from our friends on Facebook. So I encourage everyone who are watching this Facebook Live event to submit your questions in the comments section, but I'm going to go ahead and share a few questions from our audience. So I have Trina from Solea Cinco Ranch, and she has heard that living in an active adult community is a lot like living on a cruise. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I haven't been on a cruise.
Well, it is in some ways. I will tell you that our realtor, the one who sold our house for us, came over to visit us shortly after we moved in. And she walked out on the balcony with us and she looked down and she said, "It looks like you're living at a resort." And I said, "You know, it's just kind of like that." And so, is it like a cruise? Yeah, only it's better because you're in your own home and you don't have to go to meals all the time. Well, I guess people like that, but we like it because it looks so pretty, it feels so good, and we're still at home.
Well, wonderful. I have another person on Facebook who says that she's widowed and she was wondering, being a single, if she would feel like an outsider in an active adult community. Is it easy to make friends if you're, you know, whether you're single or married? How do you feel embraced when you move into a community?
I would jump in on that one.
Oh, okay. I'll give it to Brock and then to Cheryl.
I would think it's a very easy transition here. Most of the people are very mature adults, very friendly, very open. When you look at the fact that it's a active community, we think about active folks, and most of the residents here are very active. And being single, it's easy to mingle and interact and become friends and associate with folks. My fraternity, we have a phrase, a motto: friendship is essential to the soul. And folks here are very friendly and very accommodating. It's very easy to make friends here. So as a single person or much older person, it's very safe. We're very nice. I would totally agree that if you're single or widow, this is a perfect place for you to be able to enjoy yourself, feel comfortable. More than likely, you're probably going to get hit on, but that's okay.
So there's some dating that might be going on.
Most definitely.
That's great.
I'm just saying.
Oh, gosh.
Cheryl, would you like to respond?
I will. I'm a single person, so I've been single for a long time, and I kind of like it that way. So she's a widow. She might want to meet people right away, and that's easy to do because if you're that kind of person, you go for it. For me, I was afraid I wanted to get settled in and look around and see what I wanted to do, because you're not going to be close and friends to everybody because you're going to all have differences. So I felt like for me, I wanted to kind of, like I say, I worked a little bit outside of Solea, so some of the things that you can join, like playing cards and dominoes, are things that you have to want to do, and you can meet a lot of people doing those kind of things. So a lot of it is going to have to do with this nice widow, that if she wants to meet people, she can meet as many people as she wants to, because there's a lot of them around here. And I know through the virus that I've met more people than I had met even previous, and it's just been such a nice, friendly thing to do. But I've been open to do that as well. So it's I think that she would love it in a 55 plus. Like I say, it's her generation, and she will meet all ages of that generation, and she'll enjoy all the conversations.
Wonderful, thank you. So I've had a chance. Oh yes, Jean.
Well, I was just going to say, now I'm not single and I'm not a widow, but.
Oh, thank God.
But if you enjoy meeting people and you want to get involved in activities, this is definitely the place for you, because there are all kinds of things to do. I mean, everything from singing and dancing and exercise classes and games and on and on and on, and just conversations. So absolutely a perfect place for somebody who wants to meet people and get involved.
Oh, wonderful. Well, one of the things that leaves an impression on me is the clubhouse. So I've had the chance to visit a lot of Sparrow living communities across the state of Texas. And one thing that the communities have in common is this really neat clubhouse space. So I'd love for you to share about some of the things that happen in the clubhouse and what are some of the things you enjoy. Who would like to answer that question? I'll pass it on to Bob.
Well, I'm involved in a cribbage group that meets once a week. We go down there, there's a room, and some of us get together and play cribbage. I see other people playing during the week, bingo and poker and shooting pool. There's a bistro down there, and people go down and have coffee, and there's a bunko group. There's a bridge club. There's all kind of activities down there. Oh, plus, I said earlier, sometimes we have bands in. We're down there with bands. We've had Halloween parties, New Year's Eve parties. Other parties during the year. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Gadsby.
Great Gatsby party. Yeah, things of that nature take place down in the clubhouse. And it's all a place just to go down and sit and talk. A bunch of guys are in there in the morning after breakfast, having coffee, just sitting around chatting. And those kinds of things in the clubhouse. And the clubhouse is our communal living room. It's our communal living room that we go down to and visit with the rest of our family who lives here with us.
Wonderful, thank you. Yes, Jean.
We've also had dance classes. We have exercise classes down there. We've had potlucks, there are regular happy hours, and as I mentioned, all the different kinds of seasonal parties. But there are classes and activities that go on down there as well.
Well, wonderful. I'm just curious if anyone, what type of wellness programs are some of you participating in, or is anyone participating in any of the fitness or wellness classes?
I'm not participating in wellness programs. I have my own wellness program that I have implemented. However, I have glanced out the window, the balcony, and observed some wellness programs unfolding outside near the pool. So I get a good sense of wellness by just viewing how active the folks are out at the pool doing an aqua session. But that's very cute, and it's very needed, and it's very necessary. And I think that that's a great situation that they're providing.
Jean, you raised your hand.
I did. I have taken part in a lot of the exercise classes, and they have yoga classes and other things like that as well. They also have nurses that come in and talk about wellness and that kind of thing, which I have not done, but it's available, and those are things that people need to look at as well. You're probably asking the wrong people here, but I just want people to understand that all these kinds of things are available. And yes, Rock, I'm part of that group down there in the water. It's a lot of fun, and you ought to join us. And it's good exercise.
Rock, I think you've been challenged.
Okay, no worries. I'm just going to follow up with one of the other beautiful things about the clubhouse is that we have 24-hour access to the clubhouse when there's events during the day or even when there's events after hours, which is, I view it as a real luxury because we've had the opportunity with this doggone pandemic. Like, let's say last year and the year before, we could go in and watch all the football games. We can go in and watch the World Series as a group. We can go in and fellowship and set aside some tables and have cocktails. That's very unique situation that Celaya offers, where we can simply go down to the clubhouse, grab a table. I can call my pals over. We can get some libations and sit up and watch the ball games late night or whatever. And it's no problem. It's actually welcome. There have been times where I was bored sitting here alone watching a game, and I decided, you know what? It was a Monday night. It's 9:15. You know what? I'm going to the clubhouse and get on the big screen and have a soda pop and watch the game. In other locations, you can't do that. You just can't.
Wonderful. Let's see, I have another question from Janie, and she was asking, and I'll address this question to Cheryl, are there any clubs like wine clubs, gardening clubs, or exercise clubs?
Oh, yeah. In Solea, they do, you know, some of that is you get together with the ladies, and if y'all have that in common, you do that on your own. But they have wine. We go to wine. I think they can do it any night they want to, but I think mainly it's Wednesdays and Fridays they have a happy hour. And so people gather and bring your own wine. Sometimes Celaya will also contribute to that, you know, and have just meet people and talk with people and just go downstairs. And after you finish, then you just go back upstairs to your place. And that's always nice. You don't have to drive. So yes, there's lots of card games, exercise. There's a Sassy Sister Club. You know, they get together and sometimes go out to eat places. They gather sometimes in the club room, and so yes, you can find a friend here, and you can almost do anything you want to.
Wonderful.
Have the privilege to do that.
Yes, Jean.
And we have gardens here too, and we have people who go and I don't know if they're called a garden club, but they do go and work in the garden, and anybody's able to do it, and anybody is welcome to pick any of the fruits or vegetables that are grown. So you don't have to be a part of the garden club, so to speak, to be able to do that. And this coming weekend, we are hoping to get an old-fashioned book club started. So that may be another new thing on the horizon here.
That's great. Well, I know sometimes people are just learning about active adult living for the first time, and they're looking at different options. Would anyone mind sharing kind of some of maybe misconceptions out there that people have a certain perception of what active adult living is, or when you were looking at your options, what were some of the the good things that you learned about that maybe you didn't know about before you started doing your research? Would anyone like to answer that question?
Yeah, I think active adult living means what you want it to mean for your level of activity. If you want to be involved in a lot of things, well, you can do that. If you don't want to be involved in some things, but not a lot, you can do that. If you want to be involved in anything, you can do that. We have people here in ages from 55 to 80. Well, we have some 90, Tom and Anna. And the level of activity depends on what people want to do. Some do a lot, some do some don't do much. But whatever it is what you want to do. You determine how you define active. But the great thing is that you can do that, and you have options to do just that. You can options to say, okay, I will be part of this group. I will be part of this community. I will go dance. Or no, I just want to go sit and talk with the guys in front of the TV set and watch the football game. Or I want to go out with a dinner with the gals at night. See, you determine what level of activity you want to do. But whatever you want to do, it's available.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Jean.
I think there's sometimes just a misconception of they pass over the 55 plus active, because we have a daughter who lives in DC, and she was writing us one day and she talked about the retirement home we lived in. So I corrected her very quickly, because I think that is very definitely something that people just may misunderstand what we actually are as well.
Well, thank you. Yes, Cheryl.
I'll also say with that, it's adult living, and so that's kind of really what it is. You have your own apartment, your own place. We don't have doctors. We don't have limousines. We don't have things that take people that are in assisted living different places. So we have to kind of work through those kind of things. But I think that they think that this is an assisted living kind of place, and it's not at all. It's your own apartment, your own place. You just have adults living around you.
Great, thank you. Well, I'm going to ask one last question, and I'm going to invite any of the members on Facebook Live. If you have any final questions, we're happy to answer any final questions. But I have one last question, or I'd love to kind of open it up just for final thoughts from each of the panelists. Maybe I'll start with just what advice would you share, or what are your final thoughts that you would like to share with the folks that are on watching us this afternoon? And I'll start with Bob.
If you're thinking of doing this, do it. We started talking about this maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I wish we'd have moved more quickly. Just do it. Yes, you're going to make a change. Yes, things are going to be different. But you know what? Do it now. Go off and say, well, let's talk about some more. Let's do this. Let me think about it. You know, do it. I wish we had done this sooner.
Thank you, Bob. Cheryl,
So I also say the same thing Bob would, do it. Because if you don't, I moved into a different apartment and I really wanted to move into an apartment where I had friends. So this is exactly what you want to do. You want to have a wonderful life when you retire. This is a content life. I feel content here. I think that you have less problems. I think somebody's knocking on my door and they probably want to come check, the fire thing. So anyway, I just think that everybody that is even thinking about moving to any kind of apartment, if you're over the age of 55, this is the kind of place that you should come. And I think that's why they're making them that way, so that people can relax and enjoy themselves, not having to be doing things to the house, or it's just a wonderful place to live.
Thank you. Yes, Jean.
And I also, if moving is actually the greatest thing, even though people say, oh, I've got to move and on and on and on, because now you can get rid of all that stuff you don't need, everything you said, well, I'll get rid of that someday. Well, guess what? The day is here, and probably your furniture won't fit, so you'll get to buy new furniture. There are a lot of positives to this that you don't think of.
Wonderful. Rock.
I want to just list a few things, a few of the benefits of active adult living. It helps you to easy to enjoy each day of life. There's less maintenance. If you're tired of lawn care, painting, exterior upkeep, snow blowing, or calling a plumber, you don't have to do that. There's right side living spaces. Many people who have moved here have big homes, large homes, and they only shared or lived in one room. Well, you can downsize, you can right size. Here you're surrounded by peers. You can also go to the swimming pool at your beck and call as a freedom sort of a situation. So there are a number of benefits to reside in an active community.
Well,
not only that, but to include, and I'll leave this as a final note, very convenient amenities here. So that's a big plus as well.
Well, wonderful. Well, it looks like we don't have any additional questions, so we'll be wrapping up at this point. But I just want to thank each of you for your valuable time this afternoon and being candid with your thoughts. It's really been a fun, engaging conversation. For those of you that are watching us today, if you're interested in learning more and curious, we invite you to visit our website so you can learn more about one of our Sparrow Living communities. You are welcome. We are open for tours, our virtual tours, depending on your preference. And please feel free to reach out to us. And one of our leasing professionals would be delighted to get you started in the conversation and first steps. But I just have had a wonderful afternoon. I'm coming over to have lasagna with Rock and his neighbor, and then I'm going to work it off with Jean at exercise.
Absolutely.
A wonderful afternoon, and again, Sparrow Living wishes thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at one of our communities. And thank you again.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.